Catherine Hoggle had difficulties early in life with what are commonly called executive functions: planning, organization, and structure. During her teenage years, doctors also began to express concern about her mood swings, and suspicions arose of bipolar disorder. After high school, Catherine began studying at a community college. In the fall of 2007, she also took a job as a waitress at the sports bar, Green Turtle in Germantown, Maryland. It was there she met Troy Turner, who worked as a security guard. The relationship developed quickly. Catherine later described that time as feeling like a fairy tale. Troy Turner was working as a security guard at the time and living a relatively ordinary, everyday life. When the relationship with Catherine took off, he quickly became a central part of her world. They built a family, and Troy took on the role of provider. In the fall of 2008, they had their first child, a son whose name is not disclosed by sources. Shortly after, the family moved to Harrisonburg, RG in Virginia, where Troy began working in timeshare sales, a form of shared ownership where you buy a share and have the right to use the property during certain periods. They were a young couple with small children in the middle of a daily life that required a lot of energy and structure. When their first child was newborn, Catherine's mother, Lindsay, planned to take care of the baby for 2 days to give the young couple some relief. When Lindsay was about to leave with her grandchild, Catherine slipped small notes into her mother's back pocket. They contained detailed instructions, how to mix formula, when the baby should be fed, and a reminder not to have pillows in the crib for Troy. This was an early sign of how strong Catherine's need for control was. Around the same time Catherine began to show signs of suspicion, Troy has said that she became paranoid and started to believe that someone was trying to break up their family. He suspected that she might be suffering from postpartum depression over a time. This behavior faded, and Troy then chose not to worry further. In 2011, their daughter Sarah Grace Hoggle was born, and in 2012, their son Jacob Gabriel Hoggle. Time passed, but Catherine's mental health gradually deteriorated. The family felt that she increasingly sought control by withholding information. One example Troy himself has described, which 7-Eleven store she had been to. The one in Germantown, Catherine replied, even though there were several. When he asked which one, she replied, "I already said it." They were small situations, but they happened often. In 2013, Catherine became convinced that Troy's sister was breaking into their apartment. She then went to court, where she claimed that the sister had stolen toddler undershirts worth $2.09, as well as a plastic toy with a lion motif worth $30. Catherine described the toy in detail and claimed that it was missing a scratch that had been on the family's own toy, a sign, according to her, that it had been stolen. She also accused Troy's sister of following her. She claimed that the sister showed up at the grocery store at the children's doctor appointment, NTS, and during visits to her own mother, Catherine applied for a restraining order, which the court denied. Troy has said that he urged Catherine to seek professional help and to take her medication. He has also said that he did not know whether she actually did. At one point, while they were sitting in their SUV, Catherine began whispering and looking around as if the car was bugged. Troy pulled over and tried to calm her. "No one is listening to us. We are boring," he said in an attempt to use humor to help her relax. But his concern grew on August 13, 2013, when their son Jacob was about 13 months old. Catherine was admitted to a psychiatric hospital. She was still breastfeeding and therefore pumped breast milk, which was sent to her mother Lindsay, who in turn fed Jacob. This became a clear break in everyday life, a point where the family could no longer keep the situation within the walls of the home. On Christmas Eve 2013, Catherine was admitted to Shepherd D. Pratt Psychiatric Hospital in Maryland. She resisted care and was therefore admitted involuntarily. According to Lindsay, Catherine's mother, Catherine was handcuffed in front of her children before she was taken away. Troy has described how he explained the situation to the children. He himself had previously been hospitalized for asthma and said, "Do you remember when Dad had to stay in the hospital for 2 days? That is what Mom is doing now. She just has to stay a little longer." After Christmas, Catherine transitioned from the psychiatric hospital to day treatment, then to residential care, and then to outpatient care. This process lasted for 9 months until September 2014, shortly before the children disappeared. During this period, Catherine was put on several different medications and was given diagnoses such as schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and other serious mental illnesses. She experienced many side effects from the medication changes, including drooling, slurred speech, tremors in her hands, gastrointestinal problems, and severe fatigue. Lindsay has said that in many cases, the side effects were worse than the illness itself. In a text Lindsay later published, she wrote, "After so many attempts, I began calling these terrible psychiatric medications open-heart surgery with a chainsaw. During the summer of 2014, Catherine was home again and seemed to be doing much better. Doctors recommended that another adult should always be present when Catherine was with the children, not because of risk of harm, but because of the sedating effect of the medications." Lindsay has said that she saw this several times and was worried about whether Catherine would be able to respond in an emergency such as a fire. Randy, Catherine's father, has said that after treatment, Catherine seemed to return to being the attentive parent she had previously been. She read books to the children and asked them why they thought a story was funny or what it really meant. At the same time, Randy noticed her fatigue and absence. Sometimes she would open a book and stare at it while the children themselves turned the pages and tried to understand the story. Troy has said that at that time, he did not believe that Catherine would intentionally harm the children. However, he knew that her mental illness was unpredictable and wanted to avoid leaving her alone with the children. He, together with Lindsay, Randy, Troy's mother, his sister, Catherine's siblings, Troy's friends, and a babysitter, worked together to make sure that another adult was always nearby. Childcare took place mainly in 2 locations: Troy and Catherine's apartment and Lindsay's home. Lindsay, who was one of the primary caregivers, has described the days leading up to the disappearance. She had planned to have a classmate visit during the weekend of September 5 to 7, 2014. She informed Catherine that she would not be able to help with the children during that time and offered to help arrange alternative solutions. Lindsay picked up her friend Karen on Friday and they spent time together. On Saturday, Lindsay sent a text message to Catherine and said that she wanted to take Karen to the oldest grandchild's soccer game. The next day, Catherine responded negatively and wrote, "Isn't it early to wake up on a Sunday? Wouldn't you rather sleep and go to church and show her off there?" On Sunday, September 7th, Lindsay sent a text message to her ex-husband Randy to ask about the grandchildren. At 14:26, she texted Catherine's father and asked, "Where are the babies today?" At 14:03, she received a reply with "you" at 14:04. Lindsay wrote back, "With whom I did not know about those plans. I am eating crab tonight. Then there is other food for the children, Lindsay and her fry." Karen drove back to the house to help with the children. They arrived around 6 in the evening. When Lindsay walked in, Catherine was not there, and Lindsay got a strange feeling in the house after conversations between Lindsay and Randy. Lindsay discovered that Catherine had taken Randy's car to pick up pizza and that she had taken Jacob with her. This went against the routines the family had agreed on. Randy has said that Catherine around 4 in the afternoon had said that she had a pizza coupon and wanted to borrow his car. Jacob was clinging to her. "Let me just take him," Catherine said. The family began driving around looking for Catherine when she did not return. She came back at 19:20 without Jacob. When she was asked where the child was, Catherine replied that he was at a sleepover at a friend's house. She also said that it had taken a long time to come back because it had been difficult to get the pizza. Lindsay has said that she became upset because Catherine was not supposed to be driving and because she believed that a 2-year-old was too young to sleep over somewhere. In the meantime, Karen had bought a princess dress for Sarah. Sarah tried it on and Lindsay took a photo. Catherine asked to see the phone and immediately deleted the picture. At 20:30, Lindsay became increasingly worried Randy was asked to drive Catherine, Sarah, and the oldest grandchild back to the apartment and to pick up Jacob from the sleepover. He drove the others to the apartment, but according to all accounts, Jacob does not appear to have returned home. That night, Troy came home from work at Trello. At midnight, he noticed that Jacob was not in his bed. In the bedroom. That was not unusual. The boy often climbed into bed with a sibling. Troy went to bed later. Troy said, "No one calls me when she comes." Back without my child. If I had received that call, Sarah, whoa. I'd still be with us because then I would have called the police immediately. He said that he came home late and chose not to wake the children, to give them a good night kiss. I say this with great regret, he said. That is the one time I did not go in when I came home late to kiss my children. Randy stayed overnight at the apartment and left ear. The next morning, Troy was woken early by his oldest child who was eager to get ready for school. It was a normal weekday morning. The child was dressed ready and impatient in the way only children, and when routines are part of their body. When Troy got up, he quickly noticed that something was wrong. Catherine was not in the apartment. Sarah was not there. Jacob was not there. At first, he tried to orient himself. He went through the rooms, looked in the bedrooms and in the bathroom. He thought that Catherine might have gone out early, that the children might be in another room, that he himself, simply, was not fully awake yet. But the apartment was empty. Troy got the oldest child ready as calmly as he could. He did not want to worry him. He followed his usual routines, kept his voice steady, and made Sue. The child got on the school bus as usual. Only after the bus had left did he pick up his phone. The time was 8:03 when he called Lindsay. He asked where Catherine and the children were. EY did not answer with an explanation. She told him to call 911. Troy called the emergency number and said that Catherine and the two youngest children were missing along with the family car while he was still on the call. Catherine suddenly drove up in front of the apartment. Troy asked the operator to wait. Catherine got out of the car and met him. She seemed calm. She said that she had gotten up early to let him sleep. She said that she had taken Sarah and Jacob to a daycare that was running a pilot program. She said that the daycare was in Germantown. She suggested that Troy could come along later and look at the place when they were going to pick up the children. Troy was upset that she had taken the children without saying anything. At the same time, the story sounded reasonable. It was impossible that there was a new daycare. Catherine spoke calmly and coherently. Troy returned to the call with 911 and said that it had been a misunderstanding. He canceled the report after his. Troy drove Catherine to her treatment program. At 13:40, Lindsay called Catherine to ask where the children were. Catherine replied that she could not talk because it was her last day in grow-up therapy. Later, Catherine would deny that she had said this, but Lindsay had written the conversation down in her diary. Around 1400, Troy picked Catherine up. He said that he wanted to go her to pick up the children. Catherine then said that she could not remember the name of the daycare, but that she could show the way they started driving. During the car ride, Catherine became increasingly evasive. She gave no clear answers. At the same time, Lindsay called and sent messages trying to get information directly from her daughter. Catherine did not give her any answers either when it was time to pick up the oldest child from the school bus. Troy and Catherine were the closest. They picked him up. Lindsay asked Troy to stop the car so that she could meet them. She drove to Rockville to meet them. When Lindsay arrived, she went up to the car and took the oldest child out. She was worried about his safety. This made Catherine furious. Catherine sat down in Lindsay's car next to her child in the back seat and said that she would go with Lindsay. Lindsay replied that it was fine, but that the child would be taken to her home until Sarah and Jacob could be located. Catherine then got out of car and said that she was going to get her phone. At that moment, Lindsay drove away with the child. Catherine immediately began calling and sending messages both from her own phone and from Troy's phone. She demanded that Lindsay return the child. She accused Lindsay of kidnapping. Lindsay replied that she would return the child as soon as Catherine could show where Sarah and Jacob were. Troy now NDED answers. Where are my children? He asked. Where are my children? He told Catherine that they were going to the police. Catherine then asked that they first stop at a Chick-fil-A, a fast food restaurant. She said that she needed to buy a soda because she needed it to take her medication. Troy agreed to the stop. The police station was located right next to the restaurant when the car stopped. Catherine got out of the car. She disappeared. Troy sent a message to Lindsay, "She is gone." Both of them went to the police station to report what had happened when Catherine disappeared from the Chick-fil-A area. A search was immediately launched. Troy had left the car and tried to reach her, but she was gone. He and Lindsay went to the police station to explain the situation. The police now began searching for Catherine as a missing adult, while at the same time trying to determine where the children were. It was known that Catherine had last been seen at the restaurant near Germantown Transit Center. The page Alice used a dog to track Catherine. The trail showed that she had left the restaurant on foot and moved toward Germantown Transit Center. There, the trail ended. During this time, the police gathered information from the family. Troy spoke about Catherine's mental illness and about her previous behavior. Lindsay said that she believed Catherine had been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. Troy stated that he had been told that it was paranoid schizophrenia. At the same time, the hours passed with no one knowing where Catherine was, and still with no confirmation of where Sarah and Jacob were. The police began reviewing surveillance cameras in the area on footage from Chick-fil-A and nearby buildings. Catherine could be seen moving around the area after she had left the car. Later, they would also find images showing her in nearby buildings even several hours later. During the search, further details about Catherine's movements emerged. She had gone to a restaurant next to Chick-fil-A where she borrowed the staff's phone and called a childhood friend who lived in the area. After that, she was captured on camera in a building across from the restaurant, both shortly after she disappeared and later, during the night around 4:30 in the morning. On several occasions that evening, Catherine checked her voicemail from that location, despite not having her own mobile phone with her. Meanwhile, concern grew within the family. Lindsay and Troy waited for information while the police continued searching for Catherine and trying to obtain information about the children. 4 days after the disappearance, Catherine was found in Germantown. She was walking alone in the streets. She was taken into custody by the police and brought in for questioning. She was questioned for several hours after that. Troy was brought into the same room. When she saw him, she calmly asked, "What are you doing here?" Troy later said that she appeared relaxed. Her behavior was different compared to the year before, when she had believed the car was bugged, or that someone was breaking into their home. "I am here hopefully to find out where my children are," Troy replied, "and to see you." Troy asked the same questions the police had already asked. "Where are the children?" Catherine answered that she had left them with a woman named Erin. She gave no further details. She did not want to say who Erin was, where she lived, or how she could be contacted. After the interrogation, Catherine was taken to a psychiatric hospital for a psychiatric evaluation to determine whether she was fit to participate in legal proceedings. Meanwhile, the search for Sarah and Jacob continued. The police used helicopters, search dogs, and organized ground searches with trained search teams. No trace of the children was found in connection with the investigation. Lindsay reviewed phone and technical records. She discovered that at 1400 on the same day, the children's absence was noticed. A call had been made to her home from an organization with abbreviation CCHR, Citizens Commission on Human Rights, an organization with ties to Scientology. She informed the police about this, but the call could never be linked to the children's disappearance. On September 11, 2014, Randy was asked by the police to make a public statement in which he pleaded with Catherine to return with the children. The police believed that he was closest to her, and therefore could reach her. Despite appeals, interrogations, and extensive search efforts, no new information came in about where Sarah and Jacob were after Catherine had been located in Germantown. She was taken to psychiatric care for evaluation. The focus was on whether she was mentally capable of participating in legal proceedings. At the same time, it was clear that she was the last known person to have been with Sarah and Jacob. The police investigation now continued on two parallel tracks, one to try to determine the children's fate, the other to handle Catherine within the legal system and psychiatry. The first charges. In 2014, Catherine was charged with 3 minor offenses: abduction of the children, neglect, and obstruction of an investigation. These charges were based on the fact that she had taken the children without informing their father, that she had not disclosed where they were, and that she had actively withheld information from the police. However, Catherine was deemed unfit to stand trial. She was considered not to understand the legal process well enough to be able to defend herself. Therefore, the legal process was paused, and she was placed at Clifton T. Perkins Hospital, Maryland's state psychiatric hospital. At that time, prosecutors expressed suspicions that Catherine exaggerated, or mutilated parts of her mental illness to avoid trial. This was, however, an assessment from the prosecution and did not immediately lead to any change in her legal status. Continued contacts and statements. During the time Catherine was hospitalized, there were sporadic attempts from her to family and authorities. She repeatedly said that the children were alive to her father, Randy. She is said to have said, "They're fine, I promise they are alive." When he asked her to be more specific, she replied, "I cannot talk about that." At one point, Catherine stated that she wanted to lead the police to the children. Troy and Lindsay then appeared in court, hoping that this would lead to a breakthrough. Catherine was brought into the courtroom with handcuffs behind her back. She kept her gaze down. Lindsay tried to make eye contact, but Catherine did not. Requested that Catherine be allowed to leave the courtroom for a few hours together with police to show where the children were. Catherine's defense attorney opposed this and stated that Catherine did not want to cooperate or leave the courtroom. The judge denied the prosecutor's request. When the hearing ended, Lindsay tried to approach her daughter to say that she loved her. A security guard intervened. Catherine had already turned away and was let out. The investigation continues without answers. In the following years, the search for Sarah and Jacob continued. The police used helicopters, dogs, and trained search teams. No trace of the children was found. Technical evidence was continuously reviewed. Phone data, surveillance footage, and witness statements were analyzed. The movements that could be mapped concerned Catherine, not the children. Catherine continued to be considered legally unfit for a long time. The original charges had a time limit. According to the law, a person cannot be held legally unfit for minor offenses indefinitely. Murder charges 2017. In September 2017, Catherine was charged with murder, but without bodies, without evidence. The prosecutor could not prove that the children were dead. The charges were therefore dismissed. Catherine is not acquitted of murder. The charges were dropped. This means that she may be charged with murder later, after years passed without answers, without findings, and without Sarah and Jacob being found. Troy Turner began more frequently speaking publicly about what he believed had happened. At first, Troy held on to hope. He has said that for a long time he tried to believe that the children could be alive, that Catherine might have left them with someone else, or that there was an explanation he did not yet know. He has said at this hope was something he felt any parent in his situation would hold on to. Over time, his position changed. After Catherine was charged with murder in 2017, Troy stated that he now believed Catherine had killed the children. He said that the hope for another outcome had always been there, but that it had become weaker and weaker as the years passed without any concrete signs that the children were alive. He said that he no longer believed that Catherine had left the children with someone else, and that he no longer believed that they were out there somewhere. The statement came after he had for a long time followed the legal process. Catherine's changing statements and the lack of verifiable information about the children's whereabouts. Troy has also spoken about the conversations with his oldest child. He has been clear that he did not use the word dead when he spoke to him, but that the child himself began to form his understanding of the situation. He said that he told his child, "They may never come home. Do you understand that?" The child later said himself that he understood that there was a strong chance that Sarah and Jacob were with God. Troy confirmed that and said Yes, there was such a possibility. Troy has said that these conversations were among the hardest he has ever had. He has described how he felt a responsibility to both protect his child and, at the same time, not lie to him. He has also spoken about his role as a parent after the disappearance.